Okie doke.
Welcome again. What?
Your kitty masks. You need to bring me some of them. They look so cute.
Yeah, this one sometimes is too big, Charlie. I feel like this one I feel is tighter.
Charlie, the bigger the whatever, the better the protection. Anyway.
I feel the protection this way, yeah.
One of the things I've struggled with in these times of COVID-19, for those of us who rock glasses or don glasses, it's such a pest.
Yeah.
And then your breath will be misting up the lenses, and you'd constantly be, especially you watching me right now, I want to avoid it, you would see me, and you're not even supposed to touch the mask, but
that's why I drop it. I drop it most of it if I can help it. I do away with it.
You drop your glasses. Let's not, someone will be listening and thinking you drop your
I drop my mask? No. I can't drop my mask. I mean, I'll be risking my own life and I won't do it. Okay, so welcome to this is 11th of March, and I'm sure some of you may be wondering why the year on COVID reliving and retelling some of the stories. We're doing it today. That's because tomorrow is the budget day. We wanted a full day where we could tell these stories and also get you involved as we remind ourselves of where we have come from. Yeah.
We have come far. I mean, there have been high points, low points, but today we go back. And maybe doing this, going back in time, letting people know how far we've come, will also sort of get us appreciating how far we've come, and also not do certain things that can set us back in time in terms of the gains we've made. But let's check out what the papers are saying, some of them also COVID-related stories. I have the Daily Graphic, the Daily Guide, and the Business and Financial Times this morning. What do you have, Mama?
Ghanaian Times, Daily Dispatch, the Daily Guide, and the Daily Statesman. Those are the papers that I have, Ben.
Okay, so I'll start with the Daily Graphic, and a known face, Mr. Samuel Kujato, member of the Council of State, he says, nation building, a shared responsibility. 2021 budget, public wants investment in roads, water, and more. And these are the same things we practically want every year. Problem is getting it to some of these places. Where I live, getting water is not so easy. And it's been same even in the capital for most people. Agric Ministry releases 50 pickups to new regions. Manage citizens' expectations, Kwame Pianim tells government ahead of budget presentation. When you dig a bit further into the Daily Graphic this morning, there's the picture there of James Ibori, who is serving 4 years of his 13-year jail term. It has to do with UK returning $5.8 million of stolen assets to Nigeria. Was it? It wasn't Obasanjo, definitely not. It was Sani Abacha, right? Where supposedly billions had been stashed in foreign accounts, and there were some promises about returning them to Nigeria. This just brings to mind the question of how our leaders siphon resources from here. And when you listen to Techno's song, Rara, my country people, and say, invest in your own country, invest the money, even if you steal them, invest them for here. It sounds bad that you're stealing it, but invest in your own country, then go Igbo in London. Whenever I listen to that song, it just hits me in a certain raw way about our leaders and how they just exploit us.
If you're arrested in your own country, they will just confiscate everything that you have, isn't it? So that's why they tend to do it elsewhere.
Well, in other news, EU secures 4 million more Pfizer or BioNTech doses. That's for COVID-19. And mind you, this is where we don't want to get to. This is on page 9. Brazil's health systems close to collapse. You know how their president has been lackadaisical in his approach to the coronavirus, he and together with his friend John Donald Trump. But just to take a bit of a short look at it, health systems in most of Brazil's larger cities are close to collapse because of COVID-19 cases. Its leading health institute warns. More than 80% of intensive care unit beds are occupied in the capitals of 25 of Brazil's 27 states. Fiocruz has said, this is where we don't want to be. Never, 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 never.
Was it him or maybe another country where they had been in denial, the leadership, and they were suddenly accused of taking the vaccine and leaving the rest of the citizens. And then was it the president that said, oh, it was a trial they had undertaken? A trial. It wasn't the real vaccine that they had received.
We're testing on your behalf.
Apparently his ministers and their families had secretly taken the jab. And publicly, they're discouraging and communicating a different thing to the citizenry until they discovered that these people are protecting themselves. And
they realized that.
And then they said, oh, it was a trial.
You know, he has infamously, opposed quarantine measures, done a lot of things, even sometimes downplayed the virus. And I remember months back, last year, some of his comments, when they weighed the reaction of the public, it was realized that when he acted in certain ways, it affected public perception, and people also felt, oh, the thing is not. So in a way, I mean, these leaders should be careful because they could be murdering people or it could be manslaughter.
Absolutely.
Your words are causing people to do certain things that result in their deaths.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
On page 10, COVIDnomics 2021 budget statement, and it's all about how COVID has affected our economy. Be stern against fishery lawbreakers, Professor Wisdom Akpalu saying so, and private sector participation in after essential for growth. On the back page, President consoles APAM bereaved families, donates 36,120 cedis for rights, and then Kumasi Central Market traders face ejection. You know something? It appears in this country, just as I wrap on the Daily Graphic, when I read the story about the markets and these people drowning and other things, I say, we seem never to either not learn or make progress in certain ways. Have you noticed how we recycle the same issues, and the roads and the health, and every year, and the budget is coming and we're talking about the same things.
Yeah.
When you do that, even as an individual, how do you make progress? You are back to square one every time.
Yeah, that's where we are. Well, we can move on in some ways. So let me do the Ghanaian Times newspaper, front page of the Times. This story that got me totally upset this morning. Check this out. So this is a boyfriend who is alleged to have beaten his girlfriend to death, to death. And this is a level 300 student. The story is right there. It says Akachi North.
300 Umponi.
Yeah, deputy director allegedly beats girlfriend to death. And if you go into the story, they've arrested him. They're still investigating. But this young lady was beaten so badly on Sunday. I think she died on Sunday. But she went to the hospital, I think a day before she died, because she was experiencing chest pains and other pains elsewhere. And so she took herself to the hospital. But also called some friends, including a journalist, and decided to tell them about her ordeal. So apparently she was beaten in December, in February, and this latest one that led to her death. Charlie, why do you tolerate somebody beating you? Like, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. We have to find a way of encouraging ourselves. Don't allow anybody to beat you. See, you are in school. You're a level 300 student.
Right.
Somebody has paid your fees, taken care of you. You have a family. Do you even know the people that grieve when you die? You know, the people
who are affected,
Jesus.
Especially when you are even married or something, the sort of consequences.
Not some boyfriend, not some husband. You know, can you imagine, like, this is your life, or you own yourself. Your life is your life. It's not for your boyfriend or your husband. It is your life. Somebody can't just cut it short like that.
You know?
It's not cool.
I think the other side of this, and both sides have their own weight in terms of relationships, especially, and I'm going to focus on people who are married. Oftentimes, the biblical thing comes in, and you must endure. They tell you for better, for worse, and that you can't just, the person touched you once, and you're jumping ship, and all of that. Whatever happened to long suffering, staying on, give the person a chance, and all of that. So that's the other side from the biblical end of things. I think that is where it becomes a problem. Because then they're gauging patience, submission, wanting the marriage to work from the religious perspective versus you shouldn't ever lay your hands on me. Why did you even lay your hands on me in the first place. I'm bruised, I'm battered. I saw a photo recently of a woman whose lip, she had a gash on her lip. Her face was all bloodied and all of that. She had been beaten black and blue, circles around her eyes and all of that. You put the two together. I think in the end, you know what? Knowledge is knowing what it is. Wisdom is the application of the knowledge. You need to find the balance and use it. He's beating you all the time. This was what, the third time?
You don't need a pastor to give you directions when you're being beaten. Seriously, do you? It's a personal decision. See, when you're no more, somebody else is coming to raise your children for you. That man is going to continue to live his life. He's going to continue to live it. Yours has been cut short. Imagine if people were depending on you, your family. Can you imagine, like, seriously, you don't have to die and regrets. You've got to live for yourself first, live for your children. Don't live for the other person. You can endure and make your marriage work, but it didn't include beating. Don't suffer in there.
It's
like for what?
Just,
for love?
It's terrible. And you know something? Even in our law books, there's something that a lot of people don't know. When you do something like this, or you do something that could lead to a person's death, even if the person does not die immediately, there is a year of, there's a rule where a year and a day is considered. And if the person dies within that period, a year and a day after you've committed that, if it goes past that, fine, you will still be held liable. So some people think, oh, you do some of these things, depending on how the law views what you've done. The person may not die immediately, but if they die a year and a day, even that day after you did that thing to the person, without any other extraneous factors, you could be held
But I just
liable.
also want to say something. You see, investigating and finding somebody guilty of an offense is also different. If you endure the beatings and you don't even make any reports, nobody's going to trace it to the person that you live with. So the person might, at the end of the day, even be walking free, and here you are dead. You don't even have a voice. And the people that love you the most will be grieving all the way.
One good thing she did was it the doctor, you said? She
Friends
spoke up.
And a journalist. But you see, that's also different. Now they must investigate. This gentleman whose picture is here is not guilty until he's been found guilty. They are still investigating. It's still, he is alleged to have done something. It doesn't mean that he's done it.
Yeah.
You see? In the meantime, you, the person with the voice, you're gone. You have the clue. You are the person who can lead the police if you want them to do a proper investigation and find the person guilty. You are dead.
Well, our system, though, does support that. Innocence until you're proven guilty.
Yeah, of course.
And at this point, it is only fair and right that we say alleged, because there could be, you see, I always go back.
But that's what, that's...
Audi alteram partem. We've not heard from
But that's what the Ghanaian type, they've done the proper thing. It's alleged.
Exactly.
The only thing is
I'm
they've got his
also
picture
that
there.
as much as I think it is despicable for anybody to touch the other party, and in some marriages as well, or some relationships, believe it or not, it is the women who beat up the men.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that is also...
Everything,
so I'm
everything
saying
that happens here could happen there. I am just encouraging people that if you find yourself in something like that, you've got to speak up. And you have to find.
I would love to hear from, what's his name? Philip?
I don't want to mention his name.
I would like to.
I really don't want to mention.
That's why I didn't mention the full.
I think that I agree. You know, if somebody is alleged to have done something, in this case, beating somebody to death, and the person has not been found guilty, I don't think that it's fair that we go publishing his face, his image, because we don't know if he did it or not. Yeah, and if it turns out he didn't do it, would we have another publication with his face and that will say, oh, he's not the person who did it or alleged to have done it. But there are other stories on the front page of the paper, so let's just quickly go into them. 17 million COVID-19 vaccine doses for Ghana by June, the president assures. But if you go to page 3, there are some more crime-related stories. So there's a serial robber in Ho, not just a robber. He will assault you, he will rape you, and then he will rob you. Fortunately, he's been grabbed. Not just grabbed, but he's been sentenced. Initially, he got a sentence of 63 years, but he actually has been convicted in another incident. So now he gets to spend 90 years in prison. By the time he comes out, he'll be 117 years old. His name is Prince Edu. And in one of the incidents, accounted here, he actually raped this lady in a cemetery. Raped, assaulted, raped,
can that be?
And then robbed. So he's going to spend the next 100 and the next 90 years.
He together with a friend, they've been in the papers for some weeks now, and there was an additional sentence that has pushed it to what we currently see.
Okay, there's also another incident of two men. If you look at the faces, they are also alleged to have stolen. So they went to a mobile shop just close by Tiptoe Lane, and two of them, one will engage the shopkeeper and try and distract him, whilst the other person would do the stealing. And they were arrested, but the police found out that this is something that they've been doing. So they've been stealing. They're stealing in Kaswa, in Osu, and other places. And they are now in the grips of the police. There's a driver's mate who's also been sentenced to 12 years for escaping from lawful custody. He escaped and he was arrested again. That story is also here in the Ghanaian Times newspaper. I think that will be it, Ben. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll start with this one because it ties into that major story of Philip. That's all I'm going to mention. Businessman caged over wife's death, and we've seen this in the papers for a while. But Mama, I just want to mention this. It skipped my mind to mention it, tied to what the gentleman allegedly has done. I think parents also ought to be very careful the example they set at home. Something I've realized, a lot of people, or men especially, who end up beating their wives, saw their fathers doing something similar. And they felt it was right. Some of them decide, I'll never do this, but instinctively or whatever, they end up doing it. So here's where I would say that parents be very cautious.
Yeah.
The example you set, some parents, they fight, they do all of that, but they refuse to do it in front of the children. So the children never see all those things they do. It's critical.
Yeah.
Don't hit a woman in front of your children, especially your boy children. They might end up copying what you're doing.
Good advice.
Page 6. So that's where the story is. The police at East Legon, and that's not to say you should ever hit your wife, but at least let your fights, your spats not be in front of them. The police at East Legon, Accra have arrested a businessman in connection with the death of his wife. Charles Dejo, Chief Executive Officer of Chadeco Group of Companies Limited, was arrested on Independence Day on March 6 after his father-in-law reported the alleged murder of his daughter to the East Legon police. The 43-year-old woman, Lillian Dejo, according to police initial information, died after reportedly slipping and falling off the stairs at the East Legon home. However, the father of the deceased, according to the police, later accused the suspect of assaulting his daughter, leading to her death. Sad, sad, sad one. Anyway, let's look at other headlines. I lost 5-4. You lost 7-0. Nana taunts NDC. Alote Jacobs quits, and
one breath we say we should move on, in another breath then we keep reminding the loser of what he has lost. What are we communicating?
Ayo, is it Alote or Alote?
Where?
I nearly said something in Ga. that would have been suicidal. Anyway, so he quits the NDC, but I'm asking, what really is the consequence of this?
Well, he says
the man has been sidelined by the party for
he was suspended.
God knows how long.
He was suspended.
He's never played any role for a long time. He's been on different platforms bashing the party. They virtually ignored him, like they've done with Koku as well. So I really don't know. What is the consequence of this action?
Well,
for me, it's none.
He says he does not support the NPP. He's not an NPP person, but he supports the president and the vice president. And he wasn't formally accepted in the NDC. So as he's decided to quit, he does not in turn formally informing them. So that's what it is.
Okay. So the self-acclaimed educated fisherman says he is no longer with the party. All right, just a few more and then we get out of here. Tanzania's leader in Kenyan hospital with COVID, President Magufuli, has gone down with COVID. We wish him the very best. And Lula da Silva, or Lula Inácio da Silva, Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, I should say, Brazil's ex-president's corruption convictions have been annulled. Maybe finally on page 5, satellite images show Equatorial Guinea destruction. And the official death toll has now reached 105, with at least 600 injured in that country. Police also have stopped some rioting in Kumasi. That's on page 7 on the back page. Kwame Opoku joins the USM Alger. And so for a fee of 600,000 euros, but I've also heard alternatively 500,000. But I'm happy for this gentleman. He's going to earn some 15,000 euros every month.
Kwame Opoku.
Yes.
Okay.
And
did he play in any of our local clubs? Because
Asante Kotoko. He's an Asante Kotoko striker, and he's made.
But no
in
wonder
fact, the club.
we don't know him.
The club, well, if he's going to a club this big and going to earn the kwacha like that, you must know that he's big
from Kotokoto.
in the
Which
system.
club again? I haven't even heard.
USM Alger.
Really?
Yes, it's a big team in
Is
Algeria.
it?
Yes, it is. In fact, on the continent. You know what? We'll settle this with our sports crew when they come through, and then you see your sports smoothness level. You see it. Anyway, but I'm happy for him, and he's got a car to boot. I think a Benz car. It's
That's good.
Looks like good times for him.
I just wish
The
that
team-
this was a hats. Okay, yeah, the team what?
The team actually encouraged him. They told him this is a good deal, and but of course they're also going to get their cut, so it's good for them
Okay.
on both levels.
All right.
So that's it. That's it for the back page and sports.
Let me do the Daily Dispatch real quick. On the front page, Opoku Prempeh acknowledges my new task as energy minister will not be easy. Victor Newman goes home. The Victor I knew by Benefsin. Benefsin is talking about his friendship with this man who died sometime last year, and says he's known him for about 40 years. He's been a good friend. Baumia on petroleum downstream and after. That's how the front page of the Daily Dispatch looks like today, Ben.
Let's do the Business and Financial Times. That's how I wrap it up. Restore our export licenses or we go through Lomé. I just want to take a bit of that. Fruit exporters have issued an ultimatum to the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority for the renewal of their export licenses by March the 31st, 2021 to enable them export their produce to the international market. And the exporters who are members of the Sea Freight Pineapple Exporters of Ghana have said that if the GPHA fails to renew their stevedore and shore handling licenses by March 31, they will be forced to dump their fruit at the port and divert their cargo to the port of Lomé, Togo, for onward shipment to the international market. And just so you get the dynamics, the exporters have bemoaned what they say are unnecessary interference by the GPHA, which have led to additional costs to their operations to the tune of $245,796 and $283,000 in 2019 and 2020, respectively. Of course, if they do the diversion, it also leads to some losses for our country. Economy's formalization will accelerate growth. That's according to the president. Africa must use petroleum sector to fast-track industrialization. After Secretary General saying that. On the back page, government spends 890 million euros on 33 health infrastructure projects. That's it.
Okay.
Because I have.
All right. We will spend time on myjoyonline.com before we make way for sports here on our show. So very soon we'll go through myjoyonline.com. Ben, are there other stories in the papers that you want to highlight before we do myjoyonline.com?
Maybe managed citizens' expectations. Kwame Pianim saying that. Veteran economist Kwame Pianim has advised the government to use tomorrow's presentation of the 2021 budget statement to tell Ghanaians the true state of the economy. He explained that if the government did that, it would help manage the expectations of the people about what the state could offer them. Quoting him, Ghanaians need to know that 2021 is going to be a difficult year. The government needs to be candid, that our resources are short, and that there is less it can do in terms of support.
Okay, all right.
That's a summary of it.
Straight away to myjoyonline.com, and you'd find the story there. President-elect Akufo-Addo encouraged me to accept Mahama's Auditor General appointment in 2016. So that's the former Auditor General. He was made to retire. Well, they retired him. The president retired him, if you like, recently. And he went to church.
The same one who encouraged him. But this was actually before Akufo-Addo actually assumed, took over power. Exactly. This was before he had taken
This was in 2016, actually. He was president-elect then. And then, of course, we know the circumstances under which Mr. Domolovo was appointed. It was the very latter stages of former President Mahama's presidency. And so he said when he was confused and he was thinking, should I take it or not, he got a call. I think it was Napo initially who called and asked him to hold on for the president-elect, who had assured him, go ahead and accept it. And then he thanked him as well. So he said, for those of you who are wondering why the church service is just Thanksgiving. So he went to church to give thanks, and he had support from some civil society groups as well who went to church with him to thank God. Yeah. In the meantime, some of them also encouraged the Supreme Court to sit on that case that Kweku Azar took to the court, even though some people say that because they have not made a decision on that issue of the leave, some of the matters have become moots. And yeah. Okay, well, other stories on that page. A Japa deal should be considered dead on arrival in Parliament, according to John Jenapo. And here's Harun Idris saying that he's disappointed in Akufo-Addo's address to the nation. Plenty of other stories on myjournalline.com. Please make time and read. We've got some dedications that we want to make before we rise. It's a happy 31st birthday to Belinda Richter of Enterprise Life and her twin, who is our colleague here, Beryl Richter. God bless and favor you greatly. More oil and grace as you continue to impact lives. Also, it's your birthday today. Philip and Vincent Richter. So 4 persons,
4 people
Richter
born on the same
family
day,
celebrating their birthday today. It can only be a blessing.
May your horn of oil never run dry. God richly bless you. Beryl teases me a lot, but she's a lot of fun. Thank you so
Beryl and Belinda, happy 31st birthday to you. And our own Nathaniel Atto is his birthday today. So Nat, enjoy your birthday today.
Okay, so that's how we wrap it up. I celebrated my birthday recently, so it's past and gone. When is your birthday? Which month is it? So we start...
I ain't telling. My birthday is September.
September, Tom. Oh, by June, dear. We'll be back with sports. Do stay.